have to mention that again
something for the kids.
Definitely.
But a lot of responses.
That's always good to see.
Yeah.
A lot of people getting close
They
to
didn't have
it.
any
Hey,
fans with purple.
what is this crap from last week? You know how many letters and cards
that could be
I got
a winner
from people
there,
who are-
buddy.
Hey,
Jeez.
I'm paying for this garbage, and this is what I get. I got Kermit the Frog. Look, he's doing some kind of S&M trick. Frank Oz is out there on his deathbed, him and Jen Henson.
Frank
You know how
Oz
many
is sick.
emails we got about that Kermit thing? What are you guys doing? We're finally serious? I don't know what's going on with this network.
We were trying to lighten it up after Mr. Blotzer walked off.
Plus, they're back with Rat now. I don't know what he's doing. I don't know. We lost him. We lost Clarence. We need some professionalism in this show. Fine, I don't
Clarence
think.
couldn't count to 5.
But one of you guys isn't replaceable. You got your face on TV. You
that's
got
kinda
your face in
cold.
the. Pardon me?
That's kind of cold.
That's reality. Reality is cold. You got your face on TV, your face on the website. Not one of you can't be gone. Except maybe Tom.
While you're ragging on me, you might want to also bring up the fact that we're insensitive as hell.
That's,
Why don't you bring that up?
That's right. Now, whose idea was
Wait a
that
second, hold on
sit
here.
tape?
Why is the big pizza star? Why isn't he replaceable?
Well, the pizza guy likes him, but that Sid thing is
what
right.
a joke.
The Sid thing was ridiculous. I don't know what's going on. Next time, what are you guys going to show? Someone getting their head cut off. I don't know. We
We
need
have
some
footage of
serious
that.
attitudes. We need some serious attitudes.
I think he's mad, Brian. You don't want to tame the beast.
No, I thought we had good footage of that. Well, what about Beetlejuice? I mean, there was no problems with that. Everybody likes a
You
little
know,
midget's
I got
teeth
CBS and
close.
Viacom now telling me he's Howard Stern property, that we shouldn't be talking about Beetlejuice. Hang the picture, but don't say the name.
All
I
right.
don't know what to do.
Well, whose property's Kermit?
Dead Henson guy now.
Should we call him Little Dark Midget?
Well, we're going to think of something good. That's all I know. All I know is we got to get going this week.
All right.
Let's
go then.
A little strong there, but we'll do our best.
Have a good show.
Thanks for the pep talk, Chippy. Welcome back to the Pro Wrestling Review, home of the dentally challenged midgets. Big Brother truly is watching us. I'm Brian Krasner from the Daily News.
I'm Rennie Detour from the Tribune Review.
And with us as always are our cohorts, Tom Combetti to our right, and to our left, that's Jim DeBruza.
The famous one.
Yeah. Excuse the edginess of the show this week. We don't want to ruffle any feathers. Yeah.
Well, we're already coming off in Bethel Park. What else
Yeah,
can we
screw
do?
them. Anyway, there's a lot of things going on this week, one of which is the very possible last pay-per-view ever for WCW, that being Greed.
Just don't say go dark. I've grown to hate that phrase.
Yeah.
Shut down.
Yeah, that could be, and it could be for good, because there are no shows scheduled after the March 26th Monday Nitro, so...
Well, let's make
could
this
be-
very clear that there's usually no shows scheduled after their pay-per-views besides Nitro. I mean, WCW's pretty much given up on house shows.
Yeah, well, yeah,
far.
but there's not even any Nitro scheduled. I mean, we're looking at a clean slate for WCW because the Fusia Media deal basically right now is really in question. So Greed could be it.
Thank goodness. DDP can go out on top and we can all cheer him and love him and hate him and all that other good stuff.
Well, yeah, but I mean, you know, obviously we're as critical as can be of WCW, and for good reason.
Because we love the WWF.
Yeah. But seriously, this is a really bad thing right now. We're talking about a very dire situation where WCW is in serious trouble, and this is a bad thing if WCW goes under. And you know, I know we're not alone in our criticism of WCW. I know a lot of people feel the same way we do. But this is a really bad thing if this happens. Pro wrestling could die along with WCW if Greed happens to be their last pay-per-view.
Certainly agree with that assessment. You're only, I don't want to say competition, but you're only as good as your competition. Even though WCW hasn't put up much ratings-wise, but still, there's something there. And, people in the WWF have admitted, well, writers have gotten lazy because there is no competition. What's going to happen when there's 0 promotions on?
Yeah.
It's just funny. I mean, WCW back in '95. When the hell did they run the NWO? I'm sorry. When the heck did they run the NWO angle? '96.
96.
Just funny. Nitro was the must-see show for whatever reason is beyond me. And without reinventing themselves or coming up with another great idea, you talked about the house shows, which they don't even run even when they do. Who went to see the Barbarian in the main event wrestling some guy who was parking cars 10 minutes ago? It finally caught up with WCW. And Greed, ironically, could be their last pay-per-view, but it's nobody's fault but their own. Who sung that song, Brian? Oh, wait, I'm not allowed to take this time for personal matters. I apologize.
Led Zeppelin.
Really?
Nobody's fault but mine.
I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either.
Okay, Nobody's Fault But Mine by Led Zeppelin.
I can name that in 2 seconds.
Yeah, let's go to a clip. I'm sorry.
No, the one thing I wanted to say about WCW, there's really 2 things. One, like you said, Tom, the big ideas with the NWO, they took a great idea and just kept adding more and more to it until it finally just exploded in their lap. And the other thing, too, is they didn't take the time to create any new stars. You had all those guys down there, your Hogans, your Flairs, your Pipers, your Halls, your Nashes. And what did you do with your mid-carders? Well, let's put them in their own separate, division. Let's put them in their own separate category, and don't bother to elevate anybody. And now they're paying for it.
Well, that's the problem. I think WCW, for all the praise that was heaped upon them, and rightfully so for their run, it was like, a year and a half, 2 years long. Basically, they were a one-trick pony, or, well, maybe a trick and a half. I mean, you had the NWO, and you had a really hot cruiserweight division. But yeah, Rennie, you're right. There was no middle ground established with other wrestlers, and you had guys like Hall and Nash and Sting and Hogan and all those guys who could have given the rub to some of the younger guys like your Chris Jericho's and your Chris Benoit's, your Eddie Guerrero's, your Dean Malenko's, your Perry Saturns, who ironically are working for another company and getting ready for the biggest pay-per-view of the year.
Yes, I mean, you really can't look at WCW and feel sorry for them because they had all the tools, all the individuals in the company to succeed for years. And what they did was they took 10 years worth of success and turned it into 2 years worth of success, and now, they're losing $80 million a year every year.
But with a card like this, I mean, if this is WCW's last pay-per-view, I, for one, am probably not going to shed any tears for the simple fact that, look at the card.
Yeah, it's
My
not good.
God, this guy's dead.
Cross him off, then.
Well,
How
let's get into some of the lower matches, since we always seem to hammer the main events first. We'll get into maybe some of the main events next segment. But something that was set up on an angle this past Monday on Nitro is Bam Bigelow is going to be facing Sean Stasiak with his new valet, Stacy Keibler.
Who's
What
not
the
pregnant.
hell?
What's with the tights?
hell?
Mecca, do I have to watch his match facing a certain direction? I mean, this is ridiculous. The guy's not that good. I read somewhere, I don't even know where it was, about how him and Stacy make a great couple and they're going to do wonders. No, they're not.
Probably
Yeah.
Bob Ryder.
I don't know who it was.
Back to Tim. But I don't know. I think this is one of those things where, I guess they're serious about Stasiak for whatever reason. I don't know why either. But, if you're going to put him in there with somebody, Bigelow's a good guy to put him in with, let him learn a little bit from him.
But the story
What?
made no
Learn a little bit from Bam Bigelow.
Yeah,
What, about how to be a bounty
He's a
hunter?
15-year veteran. I'm sure he knows something he can pass along.
Did you ever see him wrestle recently, though? I mean, any heart that he had is broken or gone.
And what
Maybe
the
it burned
Stasiak
up in that
had.
barbecue fire that he
Stasiak
saved
has
the children
hair
from.
plugs.
Man.
I'm just
I had to
uncomfortable.
say it.
Yeah, it's
Wow.
It was elaborated to the
We're getting
point where it made me
next
sick.
okay. We got in trouble once. But anyway, Bigelow can teach him about pacing, working a match. And
Blowing
stuff.
spots.
Hey, Stasiak needs to learn to do that too.
Oh, he does that
I
fine.
mean, Stasiak right now is a one-dimensional brawler, and
He's
Yeah,
not
he
even a
needs to
brawler. The guy was fired from the WWF because he was tape recording conversations. Send him to the FBI or something. We don't have any room for him in wrestling.
But there you go. There's something that did happen to him in the WWF where the guy was fired for tape recording conversations. If you're smart, play that up. That's funny. I mean, that's something that could have legitimately gotten him some,
The paranoid
on-screen
guy.
Right. And the thing with Bam Bigelow, the problem I have with this is it made no freaking sense.
Well, the
it was
toothless baldness, that was ridiculous.
It's like they had, a bucket full of darts or, or something like that and said, oh, pick one out and throw it at the wall. Whoever hits Stasiak, whichever name hits Stasiak, that's just going to come out. I mean, it could have been Gene Okerlund or, Ox Baker.
Jimmy Hart.
Jimmy Hart.
Whatever happened to his announcing thing where he challenged like Mancow and Howard Stern?
I think Mancow cut off his pinky.
It's just, fine, you're going to elevate Sean Stasiak. I mean,
You
Whatever.
want to elevate him, pitch him up and throw him off a cliff. That's
What kind of damn
elevation.
elevator you want to elevate him? He does not deserve to be in wrestling. Bigelow deserves to be working at Roy Rogers. I know they're defunct now, but if they were still around, he
there's a
deserves to
couple.
be.
There's a couple.
I
think there's one
stand
of those.
corrected, people. Anyway, let's get out of here.
Yeah, we're going to come back. We're going to talk a little bit more about the pay-per-view, and we're also going to tie that in with Nitro.
I'm so glad this segment's over. I've had this craving for pizza all day, and whether it's 12 cheeses, stuffed crust, or whatever, people just don't make pizza anymore that you can eat without a gimmick.
Welcome back to Pro Wrestling Review. We wanted to continue to talk about WCW and their pay-per-view tomorrow night, Greed. One of the matches we wanted to bring up was Mike Awesome and Lance Storm against Conan and Hugh Morris. See, I don't know the card because neither does WCW, so tee-hee. We're going to go to a clip here shortly from a match from WCW Nitro with the Mamalukes against Team Canada, Awesome and Storm. I mean, is this another one of those WCW matches they just kind of throw out there just to fill the card? I mean, I don't know. It's a shame what's happened to Lance Storm, really, considering how far he came when he first showed up in WCW.
Yeah,
Higgins.
They did.
Wacky Mexican.
Well, they hate them, Brian.
I
They're
know.
discriminatory. You know that.
Well, while we're talking about some members of Team Canada, we also have the finals of the Cruiserweight Tag Team Title Tournament. Kid Romeo and Alex Skipper are going to be facing Billy Kidman, another guy who should be way higher on the card than he is.
Hello down there, Billy.
Rey Mysterio Jr. I'm going to be honest, I'm really going to be excited to see this tournament end. They did nothing with it,
Well,
which we kind of feared to start.
I have an imperative question, and it needs to be answered right here and right now. Do you think they have the belts actually made up for the Cruiserweight Tag titles? Or do you think they're just going to, go to
Yeah, remember
go
those
to
old
Toys R Us?
muscle things belts?
Those things were cool. They had a ring right in the middle of them.
Maybe they'll give him those old WWF Mountain Dew belts he used to have on Saturday Night's Main Events,
Oh,
the white
God.
ones.
Yeah.
No, I don't think WCW has title belts made up for them yet. Probably not.
Probably get slips of paper or Conti cups or something like that.
Take a rain check from Kmart or something.
More matches.
Yeah, more matches on the card. We also have, a couple of the main events. Let's not even talk about Totally Buff. They're not even worth mentioning. We also have, let's put it this way, the main event. It's Scott Steiner against Diamond Dallas Page and heavyweight
Glossing
title.
over a lot there, aren't you?
Well, we can just breeze over this. We've talked a lot about these two guys the last couple weeks. And,
Scott Steiner's still getting, doing booking one-on-one heel-wise, having a lot of guys around him, beating up the faces.
Would you agree that viewers are more apt to buy a pay-per-view if a heel's the champion and a face is contending for the title, possibly going to beat him and win the title? Would you agree?
I guess it depends.
Well, just say yes for the purposes here. Bro.
Sure, Tom.
Who in the hell cares about DDP?
Amazing insight.
Can you believe the fact that he's headlining a pay-per-view?
No.
And Richie Sambora's not behind him singing that theme music that he just changed?
The show hasn't aired yet, though.
I know it hasn't, but I'm willing to bet that Richie Sambora is nowhere in the country right now.
I hope.
Who the hell cares about DDP?
No.
Well, it's one of
Apparently
those.
somebody does.
Well, no,
Nobody's
it's one
going to
of
buy
those
the
things.
pay-per-view. It's
DDP doesn't have a chance to win this match.
more people bought the ECW pay-per-view last Sunday night that wasn't even on. Nobody's going to buy this.
So those diehards, trying to get that extra little bit of money. and
They're
falling
still
in
in.
the
They're
profit.
still contending. They're number 2, right behind XPW.
Am I the only one that is getting really sick of Diamond Dallas Page cutting his promos in the crowd? Is this? I
Who
mean,
the hell doesn't stab him while he's doing it? I'd be glad
Don't
to.
give anybody any ideas.
Dallas Page is a man of the people, and the 1.6 he drew in the main event Monday night proves that.
oh boy.
Well, you know what you do, what we talked about for weeks. Scott Steiner wins, retains, dominates. Scott Steiner, Booker T, whenever they come back.
You know what,
If
though?
they
It's
come
sad. It is very sad the fact that Scott Steiner and Booker T are the only two viable main eventers that they have in a match that the only match they have to look forward to.
Right.
Well, you know what? I said this back in November during all this. I think that it was the right thing to do. You keep Scott Steiner strong until Booker T comes back from his injury.
And then what?
Booker T wins the belt.
And the
And
company
then
shuts
what?
down.
Then you do something else.
What? You have nothing.
Well, you got to think of something. I mean,
Because
Goes
that's
back
the-
again.
that's the
There's no
problem.
stars left.
Ooh, how about running another NWO angle? Oh, whoa, that would have been great, though.
You've crapped on Lance Storm, you've crapped on Mike Awesome, two guys who could have potentially been your next heavyweight title contenders. Jeff Jarrett's nothing now. Totally, I mean, if Lex Luger's in a main event at any of these pay-per-views, just shut the company down. That's the problem. They haven't built anybody up. So you have nothing to look forward to with Booker T or Scott Steiner. Nothing. I mean, this is where, you know, a little bit of looking forward, a little bit of planning for the future, a little bit of planning for the future would have helped. But they just don't have any of it, and it's a shame.
Well, you mentioned Booker T. I think we should mention the fact that he's wrestling Scott Steiner's brother, Rick Steiner, in a match that'll probably win Match of the Year honors for sure.
Yeah. We also
That's
have
sarcasm.
Rick Steiner has his moonsault plan, from what I understand.
we also have another match. Well, the one match I'm really excited about on the show, and it's Chavito Guerrero against Sugar, and that's actually his real name, against Sugar Shane Helms for the Cruiserweight title. I would be going a different direction with Shane Helms, but nonetheless, he's getting some airtime, and I'm pretty happy about that. So.
But I just have some closing thoughts here before we end this segment. In WCW's 105, 110-year existence, NWA included, obviously, this may be the last thing you see for the company with that piece of garbage, I got to watch what I say here, with the belt around his waist, saying bang. What would, not Luthez, but what would Abraham Lincoln do? He was the first NWA champion. What,
Abraham Lincoln will probably rise from the dead and choke him to the ground.
I'm surprised Kevin Sullivan didn't think of that angle idea.
Maybe he can team up
Funny
with John
there.
Wilkes Booth. A running joke on this show, by the way. Well, we're going to come back. We have the Pro Wrestling Review news and topics of interest in a nutshell. Along with Paul Harvey, next segment.
Club Elite, Pittsburgh's classiest gentlemen's club, invites you to enjoy a truly fascinating experience featuring the most gorgeous girls in Pittsburgh. Club Elite caters to your every desire. Join the Elite in the heart of downtown Pittsburgh, serving a complimentary lunch buffet daily. Club Elite has what it takes to please your senses, and Club Elite brings you the best in top name headliners from around the country. This week, meet former WCW and current ECW superstar Gorgeous George, the Macho Man's former valet, escort, and girlfriend. Club Elite, Pittsburgh's classiest gentlemen's club. Join the Elite.
75 years, Shriners Hospitals for Children has been providing expert medical care to kids with problems of the bones, joints and muscles, or with severe burns, totally without charge. There's a Shriners Hospital helping kids from this area. If you know a child the Shriners might be able to help, call this number for more information. Shriners, building a better tomorrow for kids.
If you give me a fish,
If you give someone a fish,
you feed them for a day. Teach someone to fish.
you feed them for a lifetime.
Give me a fish, and you'll feed me for a day. Teach me to fish, and you'll feed me for a lifetime.
Through Volunteers of America, you can help change lives in your community.
Welcome back to the show, and we really don't have anything to talk about this segment, so we're going to leave right now, and we'll see you next segment.
Thanks for coming.
But anyway, we'd like to, we talked too much about WCW this week already. I'm tired of it. You know,
We talk
because
about them too much.
there's too much wrestling in WCW. We need more of the soap opera type atmosphere, Brian.
You mean those goofy angles that they WWF always prides
They're
itself
not
on?
called angles, though. They're called story ideas, Fozzie. Anyway.
Thank you, Kermit.
It's been reported various places over the past week that WrestleMania's lineup may not be finalized in these coming days. who cares? I mean, anyway, take this away. I'm just going to start elaborating on everything I'm saying.
There's a rumor going around right now that the WWF's trying to bring in Hulk Hogan to do a one-spot deal with Triple H. Some guy. Which, granted, would be huge. Of course, Hogan would probably demand that he gets to beat Chris Jericho, Chris Benoit, and Eddie Guerrero at WrestleMania also. But I don't know. I think this is pointless of the WWF to do this. They're going to have to probably pay Hogan a lot of money, and they've generated. I give them credit for generating an interesting story with The Undertaker, but they have one going with him and Triple H. Just stick with this.
I'm going to present an idea, a question to you, Brian. Would you rather see Hunter Hogan at WrestleMania, or Hunter be inserted into the main event?
I'd rather see Hunter Hogan.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, here's a question. I was under the impression that the WCW contract did run through May for Hulk Hogan.
March.
It was March?
I believe March.
Okay, my mistake. So I guess he would be available for WrestleMania.
I think Hogan's a big enough name that you could probably warrant him wrestling Triple H, but given his match quality the past couple years in WCW, I'm like Hogan, Vince McMahon, something like that. Hogan versus Mick Foley.
But just not
somebody that's retired that sucks.
There's not enough.
Keep
time
it on
to
the
build
same
into it,
level.
though.
Yeah. Well, there was the same people that reported that Hogan might be back for a match with Triple H at WrestleMania. Also said that if Hogan isn't coming back to wrestle at WrestleMania, that it would happen on Raw, or it's not going to happen at all. So we didn't see him on Raw. They have 3.5 weeks to promote WrestleMania from now. So I think, like you said, Brian, go with the Undertaker thing. It's actually kind of interesting, even though he dumped a bike on his leg. But
that was a neat segment, though. I mean,
we'll get to more of that later, though, when we talk about the WWF.
Yeah.
I agree with Brian. The whole Hulk Hogan in the WWF, I don't see the point. I don't see, for the money you're putting out.
Jim, you can wear your Hulkamania shirt again.
Well,
on the show,
in the bottom of the closet, you got to dig through it. It depends on. It depends on how much you're going to pay to Hogan and how much you think you're going to get back on buy rates. I don't even think that's even figuring that out. It's worth the effort.
Yeah. I think it would be interesting for the simple fact that how the hell would the match go? I mean, Hogan's off so weak. There's no high heel shoes, coffee, handcuffs, all that garbage. I mean, Hunter is an actual wrestler, dare I say?
Yeah.
With some offense and some defense. What is Hogan going to do? Scratch him with gloves on his fingers?
Yeah, it's one of those things where, you have Hunter and the wars that he's been with, whether it was Chris Benoit, even Kurt Angle, Mick Foley, of course, we can all remember. Are you going to take somebody like that who's been in those kind of matches and put him against somebody, who hasn't had a good match in 11 years?
Wait, I got an idea. The Acolytes aren't doing anything for WrestleMania, right? Have Hogan come out to the ring, cut an interview about Houston, about how he built the city and all that garbage, and have the Acolytes music kick on. Just beat the living daylights out of him.
I was going to suggest Kaientai, personally.
Well, the Acolytes will actually hurt Hogan.
Yeah.
So
Let's never agree to it, but it'd be a great idea.
Oh, God, I can hear it right now, but...
Well, one other thing we just want to get to before this segment's over, we'll just bring up real quickly, CWF held a show last weekend at the Mcmahon Civic Center. It was called Cwf Fury, and it actually was more of a precursor building into the March 31st show, CWF March Madness. No title changes or anything. A couple stories got furthered a little bit. Powerhouse Hughes and Dennis Gregory, the tension between those two guys furthered a bit. They'll, I'm sure, face off at March Madness. And another match that was set up is Shirley Doe, who is a regular on this show from time to time, defending the Mon Valley title. Yeah, defending the Mon Valley title against Bison at the next show on Armageddon match. So the one thing I think CWF is doing a really good job of that a lot of the local groups really haven't done a good job of is building into their next shows. That's one thing that I know that the people who do run that company are very high on, is trying to not only get the points across of the show you're watching at the present time, but also building you into the next one to make you come back for more. So.
Well, WCW can't do it, so,
Yeah.
And they're on a national,
Yeah, you're right.
They think they're on a national level.
Yeah, that is sad. CWF does do a better job of building interest into their next shows than WCW does. But that's a credit to them. So that's March 31st at the Mcmahon Civic Center. That's a 7:30 bell time. Usually it's 8 o'clock. They say this one's going to be 7:30. So check that out. We're going to come back after this. We're going to talk about Raw and the return of the prodigal son.
TC Customized Sight, Sound, and Accessories has everything to meet your vehicular needs. Located conveniently along Lebanon Church Road in West Mifflin, TC Customized has a plethora of items for your car or truck, plus more. In their massive showroom, you can find car stereos, car phones, car alarms, pagers, custom rims, car accessories, truck accessories, plus navigation and detailing equipment. Do you need accessorized? Then stop by TC Customized. You won't be disappointed.
The big corporations, insurance companies, and the big money interests have spent millions of dollars to pass laws that would prevent people like us from recovering adequate money damages when someone is killed, disabled, or seriously injured by them. They suggest that we should be prohibited in our own courts from receiving enough money to pay for a lifetime of medical expenses, lost earnings, and suffering. At Probanik & Probanik, we know the truth.
Call Probanik & Probanik.
Oh, beautiful, for spacious skies, for amber waves of grain, for purple mountain majesties above the fruited plain. America, America, God shed his grace on thee and crown thy good, oh, with brotherhood, from sea to shining sea.
Support those most in need. Call 1-800-899-0089. See how you can help.
Welcome back to another trivia segment. We're going to give away some more pizza. We're going to reveal the answers from last week. Let's start with those. King Kong Bundy and SC Jones was 9 seconds at WrestleMania. Roddy Piper boxed Mr. T, from 1-800-COLLECT fame now. And the Junkyard Dog signature move was the headbutt, but we also accepted the thump power slam because we don't know what the hell that means. And question 4, there was a little bit of deliberation. Harley Race we accepted. We're still looking into the answer. Some people think it's Kerry Von Erich, so we're going to go ahead.
Jim DeBruzzo, actually, Mr. Blotzer.
Yeah, he's on it right now. I mean, he's not here, so there you go, 4 out of 4. And Chase Kendereris or something like that.
Kenderis.
If I didn't get the name right, you can sue me. It's fine. Just call.
And Chase, what you have won from Pizza Works is 1 large pizza with 1 topping, 1 order of wings, and a 2-liter bottle of carbonated beverage of your choice. You can redeem this at any Pizza Works stores, such as the ones in Jefferson Hills, Dravosburg, and Finleyville. And despite rumors, there is not one in Singapore, so you can't go there.
And Brian,
Or Borneo,
the carbonated water beverage is pop in layman's terms. We want to
Correct,
point that
soda.
out. So
I mean, I can't get that little bottle of tonic water that nobody ever buys.
If they have it.
So the questions are updated as of this taping Tuesday. Answer the 3, please, on the website. Answer this one from the show, and why don't you just kick it there? What was the question this week?
The question this week is, what WrestleMania did Morton Downey Jr. appear at?
God
Please
rest his
answer.
soul.
And so, reiterate this point. Please answer all 3 on the website. Answer this one. Name, address, inseams, measurement, note from the 3rd grade teacher. All that material is needed. So in case you win, in case you're smart enough to win this, we can send a coupon to you, and you can redeem your carbonated pizza or whatever he just said. So answer those questions, and we'll be waiting to hear from you.
Welcome back to Pro Wrestling Review. Thank you for joining us this week. We're going to turn our attention to Raw, and just when you think that you can't really bring out any more surprises, Shane McMahon returns.
Yeah, I think the interesting thing about that was, for all the things that people have been talking about the last couple weeks, like Hogan returning and promotions going black and things like that. Nobody's, oh, that's oh, jeez. Nobody's really talked about Shane McMahon at all. His name's kind of just sort of faded away. But I think that helped with with his return this past week, because people just sort of, Shane McMahon's name just sort of evaporated from people's heads, and to see him return.
Anytime a McMahon comes back, I mean, whether it's Vince, Linda, Shane, the dog that they have at home.
Billy.
Anytime a McMahon comes back, they always get that huge babyface reaction. And, like you wrote on the website on your Raw review, you were just hoping that Shane McMahon wasn't going to come out and hug his dad and have another one of those pointless, dad-son reunions.
Yeah.
But as of this taping, we have yet to see SmackDown, so that could have very well happened on SmackDown.
I doubt it.
I doubt it, too.
Well, I'm sorry, it'll happen next Monday on Raw. The point is, every time, Rennie, you bring it up, every time a McMahon does come back on camera, they do get a huge babyface reaction. 2 weeks later, if not 2 minutes later, they end up turning back anyway. So I see this as Shane McMahon's a great wrestler. I assume he's going to wrestle, Papa at WrestleMania. But the point is, the next night on Raw, he's going to turn back. I mean, my God, I see that coming.
Kind of the point of the question I bring up is, isn't this just another form of a McMahon versus a McMahon? And have we seen this before?
No, you really haven't. We had only one time in WWF history where Shane and Vince were really against each other. And that was sort of during the Vince Russo start and finish the angle in one night. Shane and Vince wrestled on Raw about a year and a half ago, and they got a whole 3 minutes to fit to do their whole program. And like you said, Tom, the next week they were buddies again. Shane McMahon has some babyface power here. He was great in his return segment Monday night. Great. He didn't talk. He didn't do anything. His facial expressions were tremendous. I mean, it helped that Vince and Regal put him over like a champ, but I think you have something right here now where you can have Shane McMahon being the guy trying to fight back against Dad. Yeah, I do think there's something different they can do here, unless this does turn out to be another, they hug next week, which they can't do.
Don't say that,
I
because they will.
hope not.
Well, if not next week, like you said, Tom, I mean, if it happens after WrestleMania, I think that still does kill this angle. I mean,
you've seen it too many times.
Right,
I mean,
you have to go for a few months maybe and let Shane be the babyface. Who knows what's going to happen with Steve Austin after WrestleMania? If he's the heel, if Deborah's the heel, if Vince is the heel, then you got Shane and maybe get a few guys on his side.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of different ways they can go with this.
Yeah, and I'm just, the whole Shane Vince thing. I mean, a lot of the rumors, around January was, well, it's going to be Mick Foley and Vince McMahon. But I think it's obvious that Mick Foley's return to wrestling is not going to happen for a while. So I think Vince against Shane is really the one match. Yeah, like I said, you saw it once for 3 minutes. But I think that's going to draw some interest. That's a WrestleMania style match. That's not necessarily your best workers in the whole promotion, which actually isn't quite true because Vince and Shane always have good matches when they're fighting wrestlers. But I think this is a drawing card. I think this is something that makes the event seem that much more special.
Yeah,
I'm in favor.
Everything. I mean, WrestleMania. They always say this is the showcase of the Immortals. This is where everything's supposed to happen.
What the world is watching.
Wait? Yeah, why wait?
One.
Yeah, what the world is watching.
Bigger,
Gino
better,
go in
better.
with the WWF sign flying through the mountains.
Jeez. But also on Raw this past Monday, we saw Kurt Angle possibly be inserted indirectly, I might add, into the main event. Which, with the return of Shane McMahon and Vince probably happen at WrestleMania to be a great match. Why can't Shane wrestle Kurt Angle? You mentioned he has a great drawing power as a babyface. I don't want to see a three-way at WrestleMania. Put somebody in there.
Well, it's interesting you bring that up. I mean, that is something maybe they could go to if Vince decides, well, I'm going to have somebody fight my battle for me. He and Angle have sort of had a little bit of an association in the past. Nothing, all that strong, but he could always say, well, Kurt, you take Shane's place. And that's still going to be a high enough profile match for Kurt Angle. And I think those two guys could have a good match together because Kurt Angle is like,
Well, let's put it this way. Shane McMahon last year at SummerSlam pulled a good match out of Steve Blackman. I mean, I think we've said enough right there. The fact that, when you get someone like Kurt Angle who's not Steve Blackman in the least, and Shane McMahon, yeah, it's a big enough match. It's Shane McMahon.
Right. So, you never know. That's where it could lie. But we also saw Kurt Angle kind of go off the deep end a little further. And I got to bring this up. The whole thing with Deborah, you say what you want about inserting Deborah into the Steve Austin Rock story. I know some people are in favor, some are against it, but the thing that I thought was just great was you knew the show was going to end with Angle putting Deborah in the ankle lock, which ended up happening. Could somebody have sat down with Deborah before this angle and said, now Deborah, he's going to have you in the ankle lock. You weigh 83 pounds. You're going to have to sell the effect of this move instead of getting up and walking like she's fine.
Well, The Rock was in the ring with her. She got it from him. He doesn't sell crap.
I want to bring up a point about Kurt Angle here, and Brian and I talked about it earlier this week. Is Kurt Angle reminding anybody of Ken Shamrock?
Who?
That guy used to wrestle.
Oh, the guy.
I mean, not just with the ankle lock. I mean, that's a little too obvious. But also the style matches he's having with The Rock now, the style wrestling that Kurt Angle's doing, and the insane factor that's bringing that in Kurt Angle.
It's funny you bring that up because I was telling him before the fact that if you wanted to look and see how to handle Ken Shamrock when he was in the WWF the first time, he should have been handled like Kurt Angle's being handled right now. Yeah. And Ken Shamrock probably would have still been in the WWF. But they tried to make him this too much. They tried to make him too tough for his own good and didn't let him actually be himself.
I mean, Shamrock did have a decent run. I mean, let's not forget that.
Yeah, but the tag team run with the Boss Man with the belts really killed it. Any kind of credibility that Shamrock had. I'm sorry.
I think Shamrock's other problem, and the thing that made him not attain the level of success Kurt Angle has, is he had no personality. he was a decent wrestler, but that was it. He was very one-dimensional as far as his character goes. And with Kurt Angle, he's great in every facet of what he does. So you could take that gimmick of just being the out-of-control guy and use it to your advantage with Kurt Angle, because you can do much more with him than you could with Ken Shamrock.
No, I'm not doubting the fact that Kurt Angle is a great talker. He's come a long way, but can you really actually say that you've seen Ken Shamrock actually cut a promo being himself? They've always probably, and I'm sure Vince Russo was a big part of this, they probably sent him out there, be mean, grit your teeth, spike your hair. I want to, if we saw the best from Ken Shamrock, then I agree with you.
We did.
But if we didn't, and we didn't see the Ken Shamrock as being himself, then there's still room.
Well, Ken Shamrock used to talk all the time on the old UFC pay-per-views, doing commentary. He's cardboard. He just can't talk, and I just
then I'd have to agree.
Look at the path Goldberg took when he first came into WCW. Didn't talk for how many months it was. I mean, that was the big thing, waiting for him to talk. His interviews gradually, very rough when they first started. They got better over time. Shamrock could have been the same. We don't know that. We never will, possibly now. Yeah. It's truly a shame because Steve Blackman is still employed. I'm sorry, I had to throw that in.
On that note, we're going to come back. We're going to talk a little bit more about the WWF, so come back.
I'm so glad this segment's over. I've had this craving for pizza all day. And whether it's 12 cheeses, stuffed crust, or whatever, people just don't make pizza anymore that you can eat without a gimmick.
Pittsburgh's classiest gentlemen's club invites you to enjoy a truly fascinating experience featuring the most gorgeous girls in Pittsburgh. Club Elite caters to your every desire. Join the Elite in the heart of downtown Pittsburgh, serving a complimentary lunch buffet daily. Club Elite has what it takes to please your senses, and Club Elite brings you the best in top name headliners from around the country. This week, meet former WCW and current ECW superstar Gorgeous George, the Macho Man's former valet, escort, and girlfriend. Club Elite, Pittsburgh's classiest gentlemen's club. Join the Elite.
Hey, welcome back to Wrestling Review. It's been such a long
Thanks,
show
Fawns.
already. Hey.
I was thinking along the lines of Fat Albert.
Well,
hey.
One of these days in the show, I'm going to tell you the Mario Lopez Val Venus Angle story, but I don't want to get into it right now because we don't have long. We were talking last segment about Rock and Steve Austin, that being the main event of WrestleMania X7. Coming up April 1st from the Reliant Astrodome.
Fool's Day.
We're going to go to a clip here momentarily of the said tag match that we spoke of earlier.
Tag match?
Main event match.
Yeah, the tag. Oh, I'm sorry. What the hell am I talking about? It was a singles match. All right, I'm just going to shut my mic off. You guys, talk amongst yourselves.
Gain the title at WrestleMania against Austin, and then have Austin win the title the next night on Raw.
No, I got a better idea.
You're getting into not giving people what they want at WrestleMania and the pay-per-view,
We'll do our
which
own segment.
thankfully the WWF has gotten away from in the last couple of months.
Tom, you were screaming.
Well, this isn't a really good idea, but I think it's really good. Brendan Fraser could come back over from the Scorpion King and beat The Rock. Maybe The Rock will lay down for him. He doesn't do it for anybody else, and he can run around with the belt.
Well, see, the thing, just to jump back to what you were saying, Rennie, about dropping the belt on Raw. I hope they don't do that because WrestleMania, is the biggest show of the year, and this is where it should happen. And now, Jim, I don't think it's a bad thing. It's a foregone conclusion. I think sometimes you do have to have this. Not every show can be a major mystery. It's like every week, not every angle can be a swerve. I think the selling point of this show is Steve Austin finally getting the title back. And in that sense, I think that you can go into this without a surprise.
But I'm going to have to disagree with you because I think the selling point of this match is can The Rock finally beat Steve Austin?
Yeah, but they haven't
exactly what I
played. They
was
haven't
gonna
played that point up. That's the thing.
Not so much that. It may be a foregone conclusion and Austin is going to win the title. What if he turns heel? There's your surprise.
I think that's the only use for Deborah at this point.
Who cares about
They
her?
both have to turn on Raw. I mean, obviously, Steve Austin turning heel has been a long talked about rumor, but
No, Deborah's done something else too, and that's added dimension to Steve Austin's character. We talked about this last week. You know, Steve Austin doesn't just care about beer and getting
yeah,
drunk.
and that's fine. Like I said, that's fine from that. That's fine from that aspect. If it was anyone, it would say someone other than Deborah, that has a modicum of talent.
Yeah, but Deborah's
You're missing the point, though. It's his
Deborah's the
wife.
logical person to put in
Oh,
the
I
story.
understand.
Lady Blossom may be around.
You want him to come out with Chris Adams in a dress?
Oh, I'm for that.
That's about equal levels of talent there, I think.
Yeah, Jim.
I'm just
I
saying,
see what
Deborah
you're
has
saying.
zero talent.
I agree, Jim. Look, I see what you're saying, and it's not that you don't make a valid point, but she's the only logical person to put in the story.
I agree. And yeah, you can't do the story without her there.
Right.
I mean, if anyone else, if a nobody was his wife, then you'd have to bring out the nobody and do that.
And that would make sense because I mean.
Well, they already did that with the nobody thing. I think it was Mark Marrow's wife, actually.
I thought you were going to say Goldberg about how they brought his girlfriend to Nitro, and it wasn't his girlfriend, it was just an actress.
We need you back in the truck, Cindy. Crap. I believe I heard that once or twice on Nitro.
We're going to come back. We're going to do our rants if we're not canceled by Bethel Park Communications during our break. Please return.
Club Elite, Pittsburgh's classiest gentlemen's club, invites you to enjoy a truly fascinating experience. Featuring the most gorgeous girls in Pittsburgh, Club Elite caters to your every desire. Join the Elite in the heart of downtown Pittsburgh, serving a complimentary lunch buffet daily. Club Elite has what it takes to please your senses. And Club Elite brings you the best in top name headliners from around the country. This week, meet former WCW and current ECW superstar Gorgeous George, the Macho Man's former valet, escort, and girlfriend. Club Elite, Pittsburgh's classiest gentlemen's club. Join the Elite.
TC Customized Sight, Sound, and Accessories has everything to meet your vehicular needs. Located conveniently along Lebanon Church Road in West Mifflin, TC Customized has a plethora of items for your car or truck, plus more. In their massive showroom, you can find car stereos, car phones, car alarms, pagers, custom rims, car accessories, truck accessories, plus navigation and detailing equipment. Do you need accessorized? Then stop by TC Customized. You won't be disappointed.
Make me an effective instrument of thy peace.
In the defense of the skies that canopy free nations. Instill within me an abiding awareness of my responsibility toward you, my country, and my fellow man.
So guide me daily in each thought, word, and deed, that I may fulfill your will.
For more than 50 years, there's been a place where men and women of integrity have been able to make a difference in the world. We invite you to let your voice be heard in your nation's Air Force.
May these graces abide with me, my loved ones, and all those who share my country's trust.
Welcome back to Pro Wrestling Review. Thank you for joining us once again. I'm going to take my time once again to criticize someone on the internet, and it seems like I do that every week. I'm going to read to you something from Jason Powell, who's one of the Pro Wrestling Torch editors, I assume both in the magazine on the website. He talks about how with ECW dead and WCW, well, in a lot of turmoil. Well, I'm just going to read this to you. He's talking about the McMahon-Trish angle. Let's start off with that. McMahon's tease of a Hollywood sex scene with Trish was clearly his attempt to go one up on the porn-producing owner of the latest new #2 in U.S. wrestling. And who can blame McMahon? XPW is clearly nipping at the heels of his empire. What are you friggin' smoking, man? I mean, come on! You don't even say something like this joking, in which there was no indication in that entire article that he was. There's some things in life that are so stupid, you just kind of have to walk away from it, that you can't comment on it. So I think I'm pretty much done. Just Jason Powell, get off the crack. and go back to your little hits and misses, which suck anyway, and leave it at that.
Don't like Jason Powell.
I hate him. He's a putz. I can say worse, but you're already banned in Bethel Park. So.
Yeah, well, it's nice of you not to further berate him. There was a report that surfaced about a week ago that Jim Ross pulled Michael Cole and Taz aside after SmackDown tapings and actually told them how bad their commentary was. To me, I mean, I'm not discounting the fact that Michael Cole and Taz aren't good announcers for the WWF. But here's the thing. It's the WWF's fault that they don't have any good announcers. They went out and got Michael Cole. The guy came from a fancy journalism school, probably doesn't have any wrestling background. There's strike one. You have Jonathan Coachman, who I don't even know where they found this guy. He's hosting Livewire now. He adds nothing to anything. He's a backstage interviewer at best. He's not going to be able to sit in and do commentary. And who else? You have Tom Pritchard. The guy's more of a wrestling mind and a road agent. Kevin Kelly, the WWF gave him a chance like 5 years ago to be the head broadcaster. He didn't have the voice to pull it off. So to me, by Ross pulling aside Michael Cole, it's just, you need to start blaming yourself, because if you would have went out and got somebody that would have been capable enough to be the second guy behind you, you wouldn't have this problem. And as far as Taz is concerned, the guy's a wrestler. He shouldn't be announcing in the first place. So to verbally berate him, you should turn around and verbally berate yourself and anybody else who thought of that idea. Taz was brought in as a wrestler. He beat Kurt Angle in his first match in the WWF, and now he's announcing. So to me, yelling at these two isn't the problem. You need to look at yourself and say, we should have went out, we should have got some announcers that know wrestling.
No Lord Alfred Hayes, I assume, right?
No, he's good for the promos.
He's in a class by himself. That was fun to squeeze. As the
let him stick the promotional consideration paid for by the following.
That's right. I'm going to violate already something I said last week. I promised I wasn't going to talk about Phil Mushnick, because I'm going to say this right now. Phil Mushnick is not a writer. He is a protester. And the fact that the New York Post continues to employ this guy is beyond belief, and is just, one of the lineage of reasons why you shouldn't even read the New York Post. Just don't freaking read it. This will be the last time I discuss Mushnick on this show, in my column, anywhere, because he's not worth mentioning. But this week he made a ridiculous comparison of the Trish Stratus Vince McMahon angle last week to the school shootings that took place last week in California and Pennsylvania. He made this ridiculous claim that it desensitizes kids and leads to things like school shootings. This is the biggest load of garbage I've ever read in my life. You could have connected anything. Using the logic Phil Mushnick used, could have connected anything to those shootings. The hits in hockey are too hard, the defensive linemen shouldn't be hitting quarterbacks after the play. It desensitizes kids. That is the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life, and it truly proves that Phil Mushnick is just grasping at straws to find things to bring Vince McMahon down on. Now, the thing that I find really funny about this is he's talking about how the WWF stocks Toys R Us shelves and caters to the kids, yet doesn't care about them. Phil Mushnick, I hate to inform you, but you have used the tragic death of 2 people in California and a shooting that took place in Pennsylvania and countless other people who were injured. You used those kids to your advantage to further your efforts against the WWF. I don't believe you care about those kids. It sure didn't come off that way. It proves to me that you care more about bringing down the WWF. Quit lying to the public. Everybody write to NewYorkPost.com, send email. We got to get rid of this guy.
I don't know if I can go after that, Brian, but I'm going to try anyway. So it's WrestleMania time of the year. Everybody's all excited. I'm all excited. We're all excited. Well, the WWF has this knack, and I don't know why they do it, for throwing guys that haven't been on TV in 8 months onto the WrestleMania card for whatever reason, for a payoff, to set the ring up. I don't know. All I know is I was reading reports of some of the matches at WrestleMania that haven't been announced and won't be announced until after the event is over, like the RTC, Bossman, Midian, and Gangrel for Scotto, Barry Horowitz, and whoever the hell else they have under contract, and down in MCW. My plea to the WWF, don't make matches just to get guys on the card. We saw last year with the Hardcore Battle Royal, that was an absolute effing travesty. My plea to them, like I said, in addition to not just pulling the Boss Man from the card, I realize he's going to be on it because he's got a good hand in the ring, whatever the hell that's supposed to mean. Put him in a Battle Royal that means something, have him jockey for a cup and then kick him between the legs after he wins it. Just do something meaningful with these guys. Have them in a Battle Royal for the European title the next night on Raw. Just don't throw them out there to get them a payoff. Have them sign autographs. ECW guys did it. And I'm done.
Kick him between the legs.
Yeah.
Did you ever see Gangrel wrestle?
It feels like a kick between the legs.
Maybe he could pull his shirt up for us. If you want to read my column, you can pick it up tomorrow on the newsstands, or you can read it on the web. It's www.triblive.com/sports. I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm gonna maybe preview Greed. I'm not gonna make any promises to anybody.
It's a bad thing to admit on this show.
So much like Def Leppard.
I don't know what I'm talking about.
Much like Def Leppard, you won't make any promises.
I won't make promises that I can't keep.
There you go.
Much like Def Leppard, we'll have a one-armed drummer next week. And my column, well, they do. I give him credit. It takes a great talent. It was a terrible tragedy. In my column, Sharpshooter, you can pick it up in newsstands now. Check it out on the internet at www.dailynewsmckeysport.com.
When you're done with that, go on the internet again. I'm an idiot. ProWrestlingReview.com. You got to answer 3 questions there. You got to answer the 1 question here to win.
I just want to point out before you send us out, Tom, what I said at the end of my rant. I'm serious. I really want people to write. NewYorkPost.com. Send email about this guy, Phil Mushnick. Please keep it clean. Don't swear. Don't call him, a whore. Don't do anything like that. Please I'm being serious. Please keep it intelligent because you want to make your argument as strong as possible. This stuff has to stop.
I totally agree with you, Brian. I wish we had more time to go into it, but
Pizza.
In the morning, in the evening. Those little bagels.
Tom, what's that question again before you take us out of here?
What is the actual attendance?
No. At which WrestleMania did Morton Downey Jr. appear with Rowdy Piper?
That's next week's question. I apologize for that. So send that answer.
He's so far ahead of the game.
Send that answer along with the 3 from the website. Like Jim said, what's the address? ProWrestlingReview.com. I'm sorry, I'm discombobulated.
See ya.
The Phil Mushnick thing really took me by storm, and I agree he should be kicked off the New York Post. He should be just burned at the stake for everything he has written.
Don't write that.
In a good way,
In a good way. That's right.
Say goodbye.
For myself, for Brian, that's for you. Rennie and Jim, we got to get out of here. Goodbye.